welcome to the Women's Soccer Show, Euros edition. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Allie.
The tournament has begun. We're here.
It's so exciting.
Allie's trying really hard to sound excited right now. Allie is very excited, but also, unfortunately, has COVID, everybody.
Womp womp.
Womp womp.
Yeah,
So,
you've never seen a lat flow test go positive so quickly as when me and my other half took them. Like, the control sample didn't even hit before it was like, no, you have COVID. You have it. You've got the plague.
I'm so sorry. I'm glad you're feeling better than yesterday. And, everybody just ignore the stuffy nose and just know in your heart that Allie is very excited because it might not sound like it, but you are.
Because I've learned that if I sound too excited, I get into a coughing fit. And nobody wants to hear that.
Okay, noted. We're going to talk about the opening game on Wednesday. We're going to talk about Thursday's match. So basically what we're covering today is all of Group A, because Group A played one game Wednesday, one game Thursday, and we're going to kick it off by talking about the one and only, the opening match, England versus Austria, which you did have tickets for.
Rubbing it in. Jeez. Yes.
But you did give them to somebody who was very appreciative.
Yeah, to be fair, the highlight, I have to say, is we gave them to a work colleague of mine's sister, and her sister messaged me being like, yeah, it's been a rough couple of months. This has really lifted her spirits. Thank you so much. So if some good can come out of my Rona, then I will take it. And I got to watch it from home and didn't have to deal with the traffic out of Old Trafford afterwards. So silver lining and all of that.
Totally, sure, we can say that. I'd rather be home than deal with the traffic, so it's fine.
Exactly.
But Old Trafford looked, let's just spend a moment on this, because it looked amazing. It looked like a party. It was a sold out crowd. It was like 70,000 people. And that atmosphere, I remember texting you this, like, at the beginning of the game, right before kickoff, and Williamson was doing the handshake at center field, and then the anthem, and you could just feel how big of a moment it was in that stadium.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, as fans, as players, you could see it. Like, you could see the excitement. Bless Leah Williamson, who looked so nervous because this is, like, the first time she has captained England in a competitive setting. Like, the seniors, I think she did it for the unders, but for the seniors, this is the first time she's captained England in a competitive setting. And, first game of the tournament, you're the hosts, the pressure's on. But it felt like, even with someone who's watching it from a screen, it felt like something amazing.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because this was like we're saying, this was a huge moment for England, and this was a huge moment for a young team and a young captain. And I'll just say, like, my take overall on this game for England is that this was a great first game for them. I don't think that they're really going to have a bigger moment than that in this tournament, even if they hit the finals. And I know that sounds like something to say, but the first game, getting the nerves out for a tournament is already hard enough. And then when you compile and you compound everything, it was a home stadium, home fans. This is a young team, such a young captain. And to get through that moment, to get those nerves out, that was huge for England, and now I feel like it's just, okay, that was the first step, and we're going to keep climbing from here. How did you feel about it? Were you, after the game, were you like, it's still coming home? Overall thoughts, Allie?
Do you know what? It was so funny, because, like, after it ended, a lot of the commentators were quite negative, and Kate was like, oh, stop being so negative, and I was like, well, I am. And she's like, I didn't mean you. And I was like, well, no, I am. I wasn't that impressed. Like, yes, I think there was some first game nerves, and I do think we've got some great blocks to build on. But when you look at how, compared when we played the Netherlands in that friendly to how we played against Austria in that opening game, it felt like two different teams. Like, I didn't...
I don't know.
It did!
Like pretty...
It did!
I love that we're already arguing.
Arguing. It's what we do. It's what we do.
I love it. Don't get too excited, Allie, because you're going to start coughing.
I know. I'm like, I've got my finger on the mute button just in case.
Don't worry about it. I think that's a dramatic comparison. It wasn't two different teams, right? Yes, they look sharper in the Netherlands game. Yes, they look more put together. It was flowing better. It was just sharper overall. They were finishing better.
Then how is that not two different teams?
Because it was the same team, just less sharp, less focused. And I really think that could all just be attributed to nerves. And like we just said, this was a huge moment. And I'm not concerned. Like, I think that England will get to the form we saw versus the Netherlands in this tournament. And that's what, frankly, a tournament's all about. It's a marathon, right? Get out of the group stage. And when you're out of the group stage, that's when you should really be rolling. And so I don't think it's something to be so negative about. Like, I think that this was a fine first showing for a young team with a young captain. Got the 3 points, and they can just move forward from there.
No. Let's roll back to what you asked me. You asked me, do I still believe it's coming home? Based on that performance, no. I think
that's ridiculous.
Keep going. Let me finish. So, the answer is no, because a quicker team, a smarter team than Austria would have picked up on a lot of the errors that happened in the England defence. And also, we didn't we had White miss an absolute open net. Like, what was she doing? We had Hemp do the same thing. Russo in the second half, same thing. We were not putting our chances away. So another team, such as France on a good day, Germany, one of those, would have picked us apart for those errors. So what I'm saying is, on that performance, no, it's not coming home. Do I think we're going to build and grow, and like you said, it's a marathon and we're going to become better throughout the tournament? Yes. And therefore it could very well, we get into the final, we bring home the trophy. But based on that 90-odd minute performance, no, there is too many holes in the team that we need to fix and work on.
Okay, so we're saying kind of two different things then, because I'm not saying necessarily like if they play that way for the rest of the tournament. I'm just saying that I don't think that's how they're going to play for the rest of the tournament. So I do think that it's still coming home. And the benefit of the group that England's in is that kind of they could have games like that right now and figure it out and probably still be okay. You know, like obviously Norway's going to be a larger test, but they've already beat Northern Ireland like what, 12-13-0, something like that. So
I think it was only like 4, but okay.
Oh, was it? It felt like more, I guess. But you talked about the holes. So, I mean, let's dive into England, and then we will talk about Austria, everybody. This is not going to be a Lioness-centric talk, but we're already talking about England, so we're going to keep talking about it. So I was surprised to see that Wagman had them come out in a 4-3-3, because historically for the build-up to this tournament, they've been playing in a 4-5-1 with 2 6s, right? And instead, what we saw was a 4-3-3, no Alex Greenwood, and instead they tried to shore up that back four, and they pushed Williamson from one of the 6s down into the back line. So we had Brahms, Bright, Williamson, and Daly across the back four. I was surprised by it. We were lucky enough to have Emma Hayes on like pregame commentary, which is just such a blast, and I was really sad when they took her away from me for the game. But I think Emma Hayes kind of said it perfectly, where it's just Wagner's trying to shore up that back four right now, and that's what this is. Do you think that this is what we're going to continue to see, or do you think Wagner's going to say, okay, based on this performance, actually I want to go back to the double 6s?
I hope she does the latter. I hope she goes back to the double 6s, because that's when I saw the most confident England squad that I have seen in a long time. That's the team that I was like, yeah, we can win this. We can do this. I think Williamson is better further up. I do think she plays a better role there. I know you love Rach Daly, and we all do, but I would have swapped her out for Greenwood. I would have had Greenwood starting. Yeah. I knew that was coming. But yeah, so me personally, I hope she does switch it back to the double 6s, because I think Williamson and Walsh are two of the brightest midfielders we've got.
Yeah, I mean, look, I love that she still had Daly on the at the left back. I think Rachel Daly won that position fair and square. That's what I think. I think she won that starting role. And I also love that adds some speed. You don't have that much speed in your back line, so you kind of need the speed on the outside that Daly brought. I loved that. I definitely agree with you on the double 6s. I have been in love with that formation for England for a while, because what it does is actually get Leah Williamson more involved than she is when she's in the back line. And she is one of the smartest players on the field, frankly.
That's why she's captain.
That's why she's captain. She sees the game. She reads the game. And having both her and Kira Walsh as the calming, possession-based presence, and having both of them more involved in the game as the 6s is going to be so beneficial for them. And I'll tell you another reason why, actually, because now we're rolling here. With the 4-3-3, right? The 3 was Kira Walsh, and then Kirby, and Stanway. And what was happening was Fran Kirby was staying as like the really high number 10, and Georgia Stanway was up and down the field as that 8. And she, on defense, was kind of dropping as a second 6, but then on offense had to be like a second 10. And it just, there was not a lot of connection. And it's not because of Fran Kirby. I think a lot of people were saying, we'll come on to Fran Kirby because I think that's a whole subject in itself. But in this 4-3-3, no matter who was playing at that 10, whether it was Fran Kirby or Ella Toon who came on later, they were just getting lost in the play and lost in the shuffle, and England couldn't find them. And they need to find that number 10 if they're going to be successful.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. So, because I said it just if you have those 2 6s, it pushes everybody up, which allows for a better connection with our wingers, with our number 10s, and ultimately the number 9. I think I've changed my mind completely from the last time we talked about this, because I do believe we can cope with a single striker, a single number 9.
Yeah, last time we talked, you were like, I don't like the singular number 9.
No, but having now seen where there's more of a group, like you said with the 3-3, having Hemp, Mead and White, it didn't connect as well for me. I mean, obviously, Mido had a great goal and everything else, but it just wasn't flowing as well as when we've seen it when it's just a single figurehead at the top. Now, I'm not that fussed about which figurehead we have. If we have Ellen White, if we have Beth England, if we have Chloe Kelly, whoever.
Alessia Russo, actually, I think in that formation is pretty great.
Whoever at the top is fine, but I think we do. Basically, I think one of the biggest problems I had with last night's, and the reason we had so many holes, is formation. The formation did not work. And I'm hoping that that's going to be Wagman going, all right, back to what we were doing before.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how they come out next game and if it's still a 4-3-3 or if they'll switch back to the double 6s. Let's talk about the goal, standout players, kind of just like what England did well. There's so much I want to talk about, to be honest. But I texted you this about Georgia Stanway, and I'm so happy she got player of the match because Georgia Stanway was working so hard on that field and was playing so physical and just stayed strong, did what she needed to do, played tactically well in the role she needed to play for England to do well. And that is what she did, and it was fantastic.
My other half made a great comment, which said when Georgia passed instead of taking a shot, she went, that's growth, Georgia, that you have learned that you don't need to shoot from outside the box every single time, that you can actually pass it off.
You know I'm a Georgia Stanway stan. All right, let's talk about the wingers. Let's talk about Mido, and let's also talk about Lauren Hemp.
Okay, both had, I thought, fantastic matches. I thought it was clever when, after the goal, Austria sort of works out what they were doing, so they just switched sides and made it harder again for the Austrian defenders to, clamp them down. Again, the pace on both of them, the pass, some of the, crosses that Hemp was pinging into that box that should have been met by England players, but there was always creating chances, always, on it. They were working so hard. I would have loved to see Mido play the full 90. I think she could have done. I understand getting Chloe Kelly. I get it. You want to give Chloe Kelly a run out and stuff like that.
Not just giving her a run out. It's a long tournament. Save her legs, right? That's the benefit of having a deep bench. I really like the substitutions that Wagman made and how she kind of managed the game. And we got to see the benefit of the depth of England because, this is a long tournament with a lot of games. Save the legs while you can.
Yeah, no, I completely understand that. But, we've got other games that you can save. I think it would have given us a bit more of a cushion if we'd kept Beth Mead on, I think.
I totally disagree. I'm they scooted out with 3 points and they saved her legs, period, period, the end. And that's, again, like I said, that's a substitution that you might not have made had you not had such a deep bench, but you do. And you need to have faith in those players like Chloe Kelly, like Ella Toon, like Alessia Russo who came on. You need to have faith because they're so strong. You need to be able to have faith in them and let them know that you have faith in them to hold down that game. And it didn't go according to plan, but they got the 3 points, so whatever.
See, for me, it's not about having faith, because my having faith would be starting them against Northern Ireland next time around. That, for me, would be showing having faith. I don't...
Oh, I totally disagree.
Of course you do.
If I get a start against Northern Ireland, I'm okay, so this is just me getting my run in, and then I'm going to sit on the bench the rest of the tournament. As a player, that's how I would read it. Having faith in me is putting me in a 1-0 game with 30 minutes left and trusting me to lock it down and get another goal.
But then also, what does that say to Beth Mead that I don't trust you for the full 90? Because I don't think she would have seen. I don't think she would have seen it as, oh, we're saving your legs because you're bringing.
I don't think
because
true.
You're bringing on a player that's barely had a season because Kelly swapped out for Mido. So yeah, so you're saying that a player that's barely had any playtime this season, literally came back for the last 3 games of the season, is going to hold this game down, whereas I'm not. I personally, I would have been. I mean, remember we're on the Beth Mead like screw you tour. I am better than you remember me to be.
This is Allie vigorously defending maybe your favorite player on the England squad right now, other than Ellen White.
No, my favorite player is Leah Williamson, but that's beyond.
Oh, excuse me.
But no,
you have massive love for Mido.
I do have massive love for Mido. However, if you listen to any of the British commentary, all of it is about how this is her screw you tour. They didn't quite call it that.
As it should be.
Yeah. So,
in no way, shape, or form should Beth Mead take being.
I would have been pissed. I would have been pissed if my manager took me off at 60-odd minutes. And you're saying it's because they had faith in other players for locking it down. Nah, mate.
Okay, on to Austria, because we have to talk about Austria, because yes, while England did show some weaknesses and some mistakes, Austria played them very, very well, almost unexpectedly well. And I have to just say, overall, this is a testament to, as we were saying before this tournament started, this is going to be some of the best international play we've ever seen. The level is higher. You cannot walk over teams anymore. And Austria played England fantastically. I have to shout out their right back and their center back, whose names I'm going to butcher, and I apologize. Weinrother at the right back, and I'm going to try to say it in an Austrian accent. Vinegar.
I was going to say, if it's a V, it's a Vin.
The two of them combined really shut down Lauren Hemp. And Austria, look, the word is out. The world knows that this is a world-class player, and every team is going. They were basically double-teaming her every time she had the ball, and it worked. And Zinsberger had a fantastic game.
Zinsberger,
really.
My goodness, did she prove why she was the Golden Glove of the WSL last season? Like, some of her saves were phenomenal. Like, and also I saw her controlling that back line. Like, she's played against a lot of these players because most of them, bar like 4, are in the WSL. So she has played against Hemp multiple times. She has played against Stanway. She has played against White. So she knew where to organise her back line and where to tell them to be in order to clamp down certain players getting runs forward. And my goodness, that was a hell of a game for Zinsberg. Absolutely.
That's such a good point. Like, this was not just the saves she made. This was her controlling her back line and owning that. And she is a huge piece of why they won. And frankly, everybody thought that this was going to be probably a walk away for Norway to get out of the group.
I know. I was about to say the same thing. I think it's now going to be come down to that Austria-Norway game.
100%.
I think wins.
I totally agree. All right, everybody, we're going to go around the world, around the world. Now, this is not going to be a typical around the world because this is Zero's coverage, and every league except for the NWSL is paused for international play. So really what around the world is going to be here is a quick NWSL recap and any quick highlights, global news that we need to cover.
So, starting with the NWSL, NWSL kicked back off after a break last Friday and is going full steam ahead despite missing many internationals for the CONCACAF tournament. Games this weekend are Friday, Saturday and Sunday and feature great matchups including the emerging California derby of LA versus San Diego and the classic Seattle versus Portland.
I love California derby. They were trying to name it like El Clasico SoCal or something like that, but no, California derby.
It's a California derby.
All right, over to the Africa Cup of Nations. This is some unfortunate, horrible news coming out of the Africa Cup of Nations. Barbara Banda, one of the standout players from last year's Olympics and star of the Zambia national team, was ruled ineligible for this summer's Africa Cup of Nations by, quote, gender verification tests. Now, usually around the world, we just deliver the news, but frankly, this warrants a bit of a discussion because, first and foremost, what this means for anybody listening is that this newly instated rule that all women's testosterone levels need to be checked before playing, and Banda's levels were found, quote unquote, too high. And I just want to be clear. These are natural testosterone levels. We're not talking about doping. And how do I say this without swearing, frankly? Like,
you can't really. So
this
we'll
is
have to...
unacceptable that this archaic, invasive rule is still around. This is based on very, like, outdated, contrived descriptions of, first of all, what gender is. And look, we're having so many discussions in the U.S. and about, like, bodily autonomy because of the unfortunate decision that came down from about Roe v. Wade. And this is about bodily autonomy and gender. And this is the Western white man implementing rules for God knows what reason. This is just frankly infuriating.
No, it's horrific. And look, these laws have been for a while, but we all know that these laws have really been enforced to keep trans athletes out of sport. And now we're seeing it with primarily women of colour that are cis that are going through the same thing. And nobody's going to say anything. And that's why we're saying something, because it's outrageous.
Have you checked out Total Football Analysis yet? TotalFootballAnalysis.com provides researched analysis on loads of football games, including women's football. Want to know why Miedemar scores so many goals? Do you want to explore how City have turned it around this season? Head over to TotalFootballAnalysis.com and sign up to learn more about the beautiful game. We have a special discount for listeners of the Women's Soccer Show. At checkout, type WOSO10 to get a full year for €10. That's €40 off the yearly subscription. Head over to TotalFootballAnalysis.com and type WOSO10 at checkout.
Next, we're going to talk the other Group A game, or I guess not next. Now we're going to get into the other Group A game, Norway versus Northern Ireland. And before we get into it, I have to just say there was a small piece missing from the pregame, and that is what is being deemed on Twitter as the gay car and bisexual ball.
I love it.
I guess the ball was there, but the gay car did not deliver the bisexual ball.
That makes me sad.
Or maybe it did and we missed it in the pregame?
It's very possible. I don't know. But all I know is that literally, when I was watching the game yesterday, I was texting Sarah and my first words to her were, gay car!
And then we went on Twitter, and I have to call this person out. L on Twitter tweeted, obsessed with the little gay car delivering the bisexual football. And it just made me laugh so hard.
And everybody now wants to know how you can get the job to drive the little gay car.
Honestly, this was a fantastic marketing ploy by VW. We're not sponsored by them, but hey, VW, we're open to it. We're happy to keep talking about the little gay car if you want to sponsor our podcast.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was definitely a shining moment.
It was hilarious. And if you're listening and you don't know what we're talking about, head over to our Twitter because it's now our cover photo.
It is. Yeah. It is.
Because we love it so much. So
we love it so much.
Despite that, we're going to get into Norway versus Northern Ireland.
Norway won 4-1.
This was always going to be a victory for Norway. I was trying to avoid saying it, but like it is. This is Northern Ireland's first ever major tournament. So, you know, it comes in steps, right? And I just have to say, I'm so happy for them. I am so pumped that they had so many fans there. It was a great environment for them. They got a goal in their first ever appearance, which frankly, I was watching it and I was just like, they scored in this tournament. And that's what I want for them, to walk away with some goals.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm probably going to get absolutely massacred by certain fans, but I'm going to say it had the same feel for me. It had the same feel for me that Scotland had in the World Cup, which was you never expected them to progress out of the group, but you wanted them to get some goals and have the experience, which, yeah, I know I'm going to get shot by our Scottish fans.
Yeah, you're going to get a lot for that because Scotland have some great, esteemed international players who have been doing it for a long time. And in there, you know, we're not here to talk Scotland versus Northern Ireland. I understand why they're going to give you some crap for that.
Yeah, I'm aware and I will take it and I'll just blame it on the Rona. But I did expect it to be a little bit of a bloodbath, which is why I'm surprised it was only 4-1. I think Norway may have underestimated Northern Ireland a little bit defensively. I think they thought that it was going to be just an easy run because of the players they've got. They've got Hansen, they've got Hedberg, they've got Wrighton, they've got so many players that are named and are in like Champions League football, or are in like top of their league.
Their lineup is pretty stacked in terms of the top players and on top clubs. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, but what they didn't bank on is the fact that Northern Ireland fought to get where they got to get into this tournament, and they were going to continue to fight, and they are a very gritty team that will dig deep where needed. I think the first 15 minutes was a shambles.
For which team? For Northern Ireland?
For Northern Ireland. But I think Norway sort of coasted a bit, to be honest.
Look, I'm so happy for Northern Ireland, and we'll get onto it, and I'm trying to bring like the positivity because I'm really pumped for these games, but like this was a bit of a boring match compared to yesterday. Like yesterday was a blast, and I'm sorry, yesterday meaning England versus Austria. It was a blast of a game, and this game just didn't really have the same flair, and that's okay. For me, Norway, I don't think it's really an overestimating because they should have looked at Northern Ireland's scorelines and seen, like we were just talking about, that England only beat them 4-0. This is a gritty team. Norway, for me, I'm just not convinced. Like, for the star power that they have, they should have been playing a little bit faster. They weren't really connecting quickly, and I think that it could have been a product of there were just so many openings and gaps. It was a little bit like training pitch mode. It's hard to tell from this game, but I wasn't convinced based on their speed of play because that was slow.
That's the thing. So, like, I'm seeing a lot of tweets from a lot of different media outlets being like, oh, if Norway keep playing like this and England play like they played, then England are in trouble. And I'm like, well, no, because, yeah, there was a better scoreline in this game, but was it a better match? No, I don't think it was. I think I was bored halfway through. It was very scrappy. It was very stunted. Like, there was no fluidity from either team, but I did sort of expect less fluidity from Northern Ireland because I thought they would get stopped by Norway, but Norway could barely string passes together.
Oh, I disagree. I thought Norway was stringing, like, they looked dynamic. It was fluid. It was just slow. Like, what they were doing was right, I thought. There was some sloppiness all around the pitch altogether, and I think the next game's going to tell us everything. And Norway's taking on England next. So while that may not decide the future for Norway getting out of the group, the following game against Austria certainly will. But the next game against England is going to tell us everything about how Norway is built and, frankly, how England is built. And I'm very excited.
Yep, absolutely. So let's talk about Northern Ireland for a bit.
I'm so excited to talk about Northern Ireland. And their fans just made me so happy. They were making so much noise on that pitch.
They didn't shut up all game, even though they were down 4-1, like 60-odd minutes.
And there were like 3,000 of them there.
Yeah, and they were making so much noise. They didn't shut up at all. They were, like, behind their team, and that's what it's exciting. That's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about.
But I do want to talk about them. First, like I said, the first 15 minutes that they played, I think, was disastrous. The first goal, okay, you can say there wasn't much, but they left her unmarked, and it just, did what they do. The second goal, however, was shocking, because, again, there was no defenders.
Which one was the second goal?
So the second goal is that the keeper saved it and parried it out, and then it went straight to a Norwegian player.
Well, we need to talk about how they were playing out of the back consistently throughout the entire game, despite the fact that consistently Norway was gaining possession off of their goal kicks as they were trying to play out of the back, right? Specifically, Hegerberg was all over it. And big props to Hegerberg for playing so much defense as the number 9. Really.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I go on record saying I hate playing out from the back. I don't ever see the benefits of playing out from the back. Everybody's like, oh, you can great possession and you can get up the field. No, it just always ends up in a goal conceded.
See,
I hate it.
I disagree. I enjoy playing out from the back, and I think that there's a lot of merit in it. And I understand even why Northern Ireland wanted to do that here, because they knew going into this game that they were not going to have a lot of possession. So on a goal kick, why are we just going to kick a ball up the field for a 50-50 ball and probably give the ball away and just defend again, right? Let's try to gain some possession. So I get that. What I don't like is when a team does it consistently over and over and over again, and
that's my argument. I think that's what I don't like.
Yeah, there's no trade-off. It's like what Manchester City does, where it's like, even if the game isn't going in the direction that is allowing you to play out of the back successfully, you're still going to try to force it. And that's the inflexibility that wasn't working for them.
Yeah, so it was Mariam who got that second goal, and there was no one on her. No one! And it was like, come on, guys, like, you've bunched all of your defenders on one side. The goalkeeper's managed to parry it out, not got very far with it. And then, yeah, it was a slipshod goal, to be honest.
Yeah. This team, surprisingly, consists of mainly semi-professional soccer players. And when you think about what they've done and who they were really able to hold off, in a way, I know it was 4-1, but when you look at semi-professional players compared to who is on that Norway team, I mean, you're looking at Champions League starters on Norway. It's truly fantastic. And I know I sound like a broken record. I'm so happy for them. But I want to call out two players in particular. McGee, I think on Northern Ireland, really was working her butt off on that sideline, on that right back position. She was everywhere. But Northern Ireland was very disorganized on defense. They were running their butts off, and they were playing with their hearts on their sleeve, and I commend them. But they were so disorganized. The lines were so easy to beat. They could not stay connected throughout their lines, between lines. It was completely disorganized the whole game. And the amount of running that they made themselves do because of that was just more.
Yeah, but I do want to give another props to McGee, because she saved their backsides so
many times. Specifically once with her own backside. When she made that sliding tackle across the goal that the ball would have gone in.
Who was your other player? Because you said two.
Their goalkeeper, Burns, kept them in the game. She played so well. She had a couple mishaps, but mainly a lot of shots blocked against very strong forwards.
Yep, I'm excited to see what she could do with a bit more experience under her belt, so that she can, manage her back line a bit better. But overall, that was a performance to be proud of.
Definitely. And we got to highlight, these are two federations at very different points in their growth. And these are players who are playing for federations who are giving them very different things. So I just feel like we always have to highlight, while it's still growing, there's still quite a disparity sometimes between these teams.
So that is Group A, but we can't forget that there are more groups, and Group B kicks off on Friday.
Which is when this episode is dropping, and you're probably listening to it.
So we've got Spain versus Finland, and then the big one, which is Germany versus Denmark. This is a grudge match for Germany, because Denmark were the ones that knocked them out of the Euro semi-finals last Euros in 2017. So it's going to be exciting to see what's going to happen between those two. Have Germany, with their very young squad, boosted up, or have Denmark managed to keep hold of their players that got them into the final last time?
And we're back on Tuesday. If you'll remember, we're dropping an episode every Tuesday and Friday. So we're back on Tuesday. And that means we're going to cover really any games that we feel like need to be highlighted from Friday through Monday. And I'm going to also shout out that on Saturday, there's a Netherlands-Sweden game to just kick that Group C off with a bang. So lots of games, lots of fun ones, and we'll be back on Tuesday, everybody, for more Euros coverage.
And from there, I've been Allie.
I've been Sarah. This is the Women's Soccer Show. Thanks, everybody.
Good night.